Remember that feeling? Those butterflies you get when you go on a first date.
Oh, yeah.
The excitement of a new relationship.
Mm.
It's a feeling so many of us cherish.
Yeah.
Yet it seems like these days,
Yeah.
finding love is more challenging than ever.
It really is.
You know, it's kind of strange. We have all these dating apps
Right.
that promise to connect us.
Yeah.
But more and more people are finding themselves single
Mm-hmm.
and feeling lonely.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
It is a bit of a paradox, isn't it? I mean, we have more ways to connect than ever before,
Right.
yet so many people are struggling to find lasting love.
Yeah.
This tells us that something else is going on here, something deeper than just access to potential partners.
Exactly. It's like we've got all the ingredients for love,
Right.
but the recipe isn't working.
Yeah.
So today we're going to unpack this whole modern love puzzle.
Okay.
We'll trace the evolution of love, dating, and relationships,
Okay.
starting way back with romanticism,
Yeah.
moving through the decades and landing right here
Okay.
in the age of dating apps.
Right.
I think it'll be really interesting.
By understanding this historical journey,
Yeah.
we can better understand how we arrived at this point
Mm.
and perhaps gain some insights
Yeah.
into how to navigate love in the 21st century.
I love that. Okay, let's rewind the clock way back to the late 1700s,
Okay.
the era of early romanticism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you hear the word romanticism,
Yeah.
you might picture like candlelit dinners and
Oh.
poetry under the moonlight.
Okay.
But it was actually a much more radical movement than that.
You're right.
It was very interesting.
Romanticism was at its core
Yeah?
about individual liberation,
Yeah.
breaking free from societal norms,
Yes.
and choosing love on your own terms.
And that's where a truly fascinating woman comes in.
Okay.
Carolina Schlegel Schelling.
Interesting.
She was a force of nature,
Yeah.
brilliant, rebellious,
Wow.
and at the heart of this romantic movement.
Really interesting.
She sounds like someone I would have liked to know.
Schelling and her circle championed ideas
Yeah,
like sexual freedom and self-expression.
that's right.
They believed that love shouldn't be dictated by societal expectations,
Mm-hmm.
but by individual choice and desire.
Exactly.
They were inspired by the philosopher Fichte,
Oh,
who
yeah.
emphasized the power of the self.
So in a way, they planted the seeds for how we think about love today
Right.
as something we choose,
Mm-hmm.
not something that's chosen for us.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting part.
Okay.
Their vision of romanticism was deeply rooted
Yeah.
in communal ideals,
Mm-hmm.
shared experiences,
Right.
and intellectual exchange.
Which is quite a contrast to the often hyper-individualistic
Right.
and sometimes isolating nature of modern dating,
Yeah.
wouldn't you say?
I would.
It's fascinating how those seeds of individualism,
Yeah.
while liberating in many ways,
Hmm.
might have also contributed to some of the challenges we see today.
That's a really insightful point.
Yeah.
It's like we took the idea of choosing love and ran with it.
Right.
But maybe somewhere along the way,
Mm-hmm.
we lost sight of the importance of community and shared experiences.
Right.
It's very interesting to think about.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And it's worth considering how those early romantic ideals have been shaped and amplified
Right.
and maybe even distorted
Yeah.
by the media over time.
That's a great segue. Let's fast forward a bit and talk about those media influences.
Okay.
I'm thinking about those classic love stories we see
Mm-hmm.
in movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
The ones that have been shaping our expectations of love
Right.
since we were kids.
It's true.
And to unpack this, we have Dr. Veronica Hefner,
Okay.
an expert who studies the psychological impact
Interesting.
of romantic ideals in media.
Dr. Hefner's research is crucial because
Yeah.
it helps us understand how these often repeated narratives
Mm.
shape our beliefs about what love should look like
Right.
and how it should unfold.
Exactly. And she pinpointed 4 key elements
Mm-hmm.
that dominate these romantic narratives.
Okay.
Love conquers all.
Mm-hmm.
Soulmate, one and only.
Okay.
Love at first sight.
Yeah.
And idealization of partner.
Right.
Does any of this sound familiar?
I'd be surprised if it didn't.
Yeah.
These themes are everywhere.
Right.
From fairy tales to rom-coms
Yeah.
to those perfectly curated dating app profiles.
That's right.
It's no wonder they have such a strong hold
Mm.
on our collective imagination.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with these idealized visions of love.
Right.
And it starts from such a young age. Think about all those Disney movies we grew up with.
Yeah.
They're full of these themes.
Yeah.
And then we graduate to rom-coms and romantic novels.
Right.
And it just continues.
And it's not just harmless entertainment.
Right.
Dr. Hefner's research found that
Yeah.
people who consume more of this type of media
Okay.
actually find profiles mentioning those ideals more attractive.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
really interesting. It really makes you wonder if we're all subconsciously
Yeah.
searching for a love story that's
Hmm.
been scripted for us by Hollywood.
That's such a thought-provoking point.
Mhm.
It's like we've internalized these scripts,
Mm.
then we project them onto our own relationships,
Right.
hoping to recreate those magical moments we see on screen.
And that can set us up for
Yeah.
some serious disappointment
Yeah.
when real life love doesn't quite match up to the fairy tale.
Absolutely. And speaking of real-life love in the 21st century, let's talk about the rise of dating apps.
Okay.
Remember that initial excitement?
Yeah.
The promise of finding your perfect match
Right.
with a simple swipe,
Mhm.
no matter where you are in the world.
The appeal was undeniable.
Yeah, it really was.
Convenience, efficiency,
Right,
a seemingly endless pool of potential partners.
right.
It felt revolutionary at the time.
It did. It was like this whole new world of possibilities it opened up.
Yeah.
But to fully understand this phenomenon, let's bring in Maura Weigel,
Okay.
author of Labor of Love, The Invention of Dating.
Interesting.
She provides some really insightful historical context
Yeah.
that helps us see dating apps in a new light.
Weigel's work is so fascinating because she reminds us that dating itself wasn't always this widely accepted social activity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
In fact, it used to be quite scandalous.
Wait, really? Dating used to be scandalous. Tell me more.
In the late 1800s,
Uh-oh.
with the rise of cities and women's growing independence,
Right.
dating emerged as this new form of social interaction between men and women.
Okay.
And it caused quite a stir.
That's fascinating. It's like we forget that what we consider normal today
Yeah.
might have been totally taboo just a few generations ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was a moral panic around dating.
Wow.
People worried about women's safety
Right.
and the potential for,
Yeah.
well, let's just say inappropriate behavior.
So even back then, there was this sense of anxiety around dating.
Yeah.
This fear of the unknown.
Right.
It's like every generation thinks they're facing this unique crisis
Right.
in the realm of love.
It's a recurring theme throughout history.
Yeah.
This fear that modern life is somehow making love more difficult to find or sustain.
I see.
But what's also interesting is how dating has evolved alongside consumerism.
Oh, that's a good point. I remember reading about the rise of milkshake dates in the 1950s.
Right.
A whole new era of dating tied to consumer culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then Maura talks about the
Yeah.
democratization of excess
Right.
through dating apps.
Exactly. It's like suddenly with dating apps,
Yeah.
everyone has access to this vast pool of potential partners,
Right.
which can be both exhilarating and overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure.
And this ties into a larger point.
Yeah.
Dating has never existed in a vacuum.
Right.
It's always been influenced by what's happening in society and the economy.
So we've got this historical backdrop
Yeah.
of evolving romantic ideals,
Mm.
dating anxieties,
Right.
and the rise of consumer culture.
Right.
Now let's bring it all together and talk about how dating apps fit into this picture.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We're going to explore how dating apps,
Okay.
while offering convenience and connection,
Right.
might also be contributing to the paradox of choice,
Okay.
making love feel even more elusive.
Wow, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, so we've talked about how dating apps fit into this bigger historical picture,
Yeah.
but let's dive into the specifics.
Okay.
We're hearing a lot about this paradox of choice.
Right.
What exactly does that mean when it comes to dating apps?
Well, it's a fascinating concept.
Okay.
And think about it this way.
Yeah.
Having access to a seemingly endless pool of potential partners,
Mm-hmm.
which is what dating apps offer,
Right.
can actually lead to feelings of overwhelm and indecision.
It's like being in a grocery store aisle with hundreds of cereal options.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You end up spending more time staring at the boxes than actually choosing one.
Yeah.
And I can see how that could translate to dating apps.
Yeah.
Too many choices can make it hard to focus and commit.
Exactly. It's like you're constantly wondering if
Yeah.
there's someone better out there.
Right.
Just to swipe away.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Okay.
Even with all this choice,
Mm-hmm.
the algorithms that power these apps
Yeah.
might not be as effective as we think they are.
Really? I thought the algorithm was supposed to be the magic solution.
Yeah.
Helping us find our perfect match.
Right.
based on our preferences and compatibility?
Oh, that's the marketing pitch.
Okay.
The reality is a bit more complicated.
I see.
You see, the algorithm is actually better at identifying basic deal breakers.
Okay.
Like maybe you don't want to date someone who smokes
Right.
or has opposing political views.
Yeah.
But beyond those fundamental preferences,
Okay.
its ability to predict true compatibility is questionable.
Okay, so you're saying the algorithm can weed out the obvious mismatches,
Right.
but it can't necessarily pinpoint
Yeah,
those deeper connections, those sparks that make a relationship truly special.
that's right.
I see.
And you know, I've spoken to several experts on this.
Okay.
A Harvard Business School professor who studies algorithms
Wow.
and a sex worker who uses dating apps professionally.
Okay.
And they both agree that the algorithm isn't this magical matchmaker
Right.
we've been led to believe.
Wow, that's really surprising.
Yeah.
But it also makes sense when you think about the business model of these apps.
Right.
Their goal is to keep users engaged, to keep them swiping and searching.
Precisely. Their economic incentive is to keep you on the app, not necessarily to help you find lasting love.
Yeah.
So it's in their best interest to create this cycle of endless searching,
Right.
even if it leads to frustration and disillusionment for the user.
So it's like we've been tricked into believing
Yeah.
In a way.
that the answer to finding love lies in this algorithm,
Right.
when in reality it might be keeping us stuck
Mm-hmm.
in this endless loop of searching and swiping,
Yeah.
never truly finding what we're looking for.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Wow.
And it's important to remember that genuine connection goes beyond
Yeah.
surface level preferences and algorithms. It's
Yeah.
about shared values,
Mm-hmm.
emotional intelligence, the ability to communicate effectively,
Right.
and the willingness to be vulnerable
Mhm.
with another human being.
Those are the things that truly matter in a relationship.
Exactly.
And speaking of real life experiences, I think this is the perfect time to bring in those listeners' stories.
Yeah,
We mentioned earlier from that Throughline episode on NPR.
I agree. Hearing those personal stories
Yeah.
adds such a valuable layer to our discussion.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're not just talking about abstract concepts here.
All right.
We're talking about real people navigating
Yeah.
the messy realities of modern love.
Exactly. And one story that really resonated with me
Okay.
was the woman who described the dating app experience as doom scrolling.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's like we've turned the search for love into this endless scroll
Right.
through potential partners,
Yeah.
often leading to feelings of disappointment and despair.
That analogy is so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It captures that sense of emptiness and frustration that can come with endless swiping.
Yeah.
And it highlights how dating apps can,
Yeah.
in some ways mirror the addictive nature of social media.
Oh, yeah?
Where we're constantly bombarded with images and information that can leave us feeling inadequate and anxious.
It's like we're chasing this elusive sense of validation through likes and matches,
Yeah.
rather than focusing on building genuine connections.
And another story that stood out to me
Okay.
was the one about the couple who met serendipitously in Stockholm.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't on dating apps.
Okay.
They just happened to bump into each other
Wow.
while exploring the city.
And they fell in love.
That's so sweet.
It's like a reminder that love can still happen organically
Mm-hmm.
in the most unexpected places.
It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes we need to step away from the screens,
Right.
from the algorithms,
Yeah.
and just allow ourselves to be open
Mm-hmm.
to chance encounters
Yeah.
and the unexpected magic of human connection.
It's like that saying, we plan, God laughs.
Right.
Sometimes the best things in life happen when we least expect them.
And then there was the listener who talked about finding more joy in life after deleting the dating apps.
Oh, wow.
It's like by letting go of that constant search for the one,
Right.
she was able to rediscover herself
Mm-hmm.
and find fulfillment in other areas of her life.
I think that's such an empowering message.
It is.
It reminds us that our worth isn't tied to our relationship status. We
Mhm.
are whole and complete individuals, regardless of whether we're in a relationship or not.
And sometimes stepping away from the dating scene,
Right.
whether it's dating apps
Mhm.
or just the whole pressure of finding a partner,
Yeah.
can be a powerful way to reconnect with ourselves
Yeah.
and what truly brings us joy.
It's like giving ourselves permission to focus on our own growth,
Yeah,
our own passions, our own sense of purpose.
exactly. And by investing in ourselves,
Mhm.
by nurturing our own well-being,
Yeah.
we might actually become more open and receptive to love when it does come our way.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
If we're not taking care of ourselves,
Mhm.
if we're not filling our own cups with joy and fulfillment,
Right.
it's hard to bring our best selves to a relationship.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
The allure and the potential pitfalls of dating apps,
Mm-hmm.
the paradox of choice,
Right.
limitations of algorithms,
Yeah.
the importance of real-life experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and the empowering message of self-love.
Right.
Where does this leave us?
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do with all this information?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
If the algorithm isn't the answer,
Right.
and we're feeling disillusioned with the endless swipe,
Yeah.
how do we create more meaningful connection
Right.
in a world that often feels anything but connected?
That's what we'll explore in our next segment.
Okay.
We'll delve into some potential pathways for finding love and connection
Okay.
in a world that's constantly evolving.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've explored the history of love and dating, dove into the world of dating apps, and heard some really insightful stories from real people. But the big question remains, where do we go from here? How do we move forward and create more meaningful connections in our lives?
It's a question we all grapple with, isn't it?
Hmm.
And I think part of the answer lies in challenging those deeply ingrained beliefs about love that we've been discussing, those love conquers all, soulmate, happily ever after narratives. Are they helping us or are they setting us up for disappointment? You know, I've been thinking about that a lot throughout our conversation. It's like we're trying to squeeze our messy, complicated human experiences into these perfectly packaged love stories that we see in movies and on TV. And when reality doesn't match up, we feel like we somehow failed.
Exactly. And perhaps it's time to embrace a more realistic and perhaps more compassionate view of love. What if instead of searching for the one, this perfect idealized soulmate, we focus on finding someone who's a good fit for this chapter of our lives?
I love that reframing. It takes the pressure off finding this one perfect person who's supposed to fulfill all our needs and desires. It allows for growth and change within relationships, recognizing that people evolve over time.
Right. And maybe it's also about redefining what success looks like in the realm of love. Does a successful relationship always have to lead to marriage and a traditional happily ever after? What if we celebrated the beauty of connection in all its forms, even if it's fleeting or unconventional?
That's a really interesting point. We often put so much emphasis on finding the one and achieving this fairy tale ending that we overlook the value of the connections we make along the way, the friendships, the mentorships, the fleeting moments of connection with strangers.
Absolutely. What if we saw every interaction, every date, every relationship as an opportunity for growth, learning, and self-discovery, regardless of whether it leads to a long-term partnership or not?
That's such a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It takes the focus off the outcome and allows us to appreciate the journey, the richness and complexity of human connection in all its forms.
And maybe, just maybe, by letting go of those rigid expectations and embracing the messiness and uncertainty of it all, we might actually stumble upon love in the most unexpected places.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? Perhaps it's a call to action, an invitation to step outside those predetermined narratives, challenge those ingrained beliefs, and redefine what love and connection mean in your own life.
Maybe it's about finding joy in the simple act of connecting with another human being, whether it's a deep conversation with a friend, a shared laugh with a stranger, or a moment of unexpected intimacy with someone new.
And remember, love doesn't always have to be grand and sweeping like something out of a Hollywood movie. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, and unfolds slowly over time. It might be found in the everyday moments of shared experience, mutual support, and genuine affection.
So as you navigate this complex world of modern love, remember to be kind to yourself, stay open to possibility, and never underestimate the transformative power of genuine human connection.
Beautifully said. And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of modern love. We've covered a lot of ground today exploring the history, the challenges, and the possibilities for connection in the 21st century.
It's been a fascinating journey, and we hope it sparks some new insights and reflections for you.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences, insights, and questions with us. Let's keep this conversation going. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.